All right, welcome back, y'all. So in our previous lessons, let's cover what we've done so far. We have installed MetaTrader 4 and created a demo account. We've also created various indicators for our MetaTrader 4 trading platform, like a simple moving average and a rune up and down indicator. In our latest video, we took an Arun up and down indicator and we enhanced it with a moving average crossover. So for today's part 1 of lesson 4 video, we're going to take that Arun up and down with the moving average crossover, and we're going to bring that into an expert advisor to use as our trading bot strategy. Now, while we're doing that, we're going to first use the iCustom function in order to do that in the first place. We're also going to explore what the OnTick function of an expert advisor is. We're going to learn what the print function is and how we can use that to test our code as we're writing it. We're going to learn about static variables, and finally, we'll actually see what adding the expert advisor to the chart will look like. So for this first half of the lesson, we're not actually going to be dealing with opening any orders yet. We're going to save all that for the next lesson and spend quite a bit of time on that. Once we have that functionality in our expert advisor, we will also go ahead and back test our strategy to see just how well it does. And we will, in fact, possibly see that we will turn a little bit of a profit in some cases. I'll go ahead and put an asterisk next to that, and I'll get back to that caveat. But for today, we're going to keep it fairly short, and we're just going to get our expert advisor to the point where it will tell us when we should trade. And we'll deal with actually executing that trade in the next lesson. Okay, so let's hop into it. Okay, so I am in my meta editor, and I want to go ahead and create a new expert advisor file. So I'm going to come over to my experts folder here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new subfolder. Now, we can do this in the setup wizard, but I just want to show you guys as many ways to do something as possible. So I'm just going to right click here and create a new folder. I'll call this the Taproot EAs. Okay, and I have that selected. Let me go ahead and click on new here. So we do want an expert advisor template this time, so we can go ahead and click on next. And let's give this a name. I'll call this the Arun MA cross, since I'll be using an Arun up and down and a moving average crossover to inform my strategy here. Okay, now there will be input parameters to this. I'm just going to go ahead and add them in the code. I find that just to be, for whatever reason, a little bit easier. So we'll go ahead and click next. There's nothing we need to add to our expert advisor on this window, so we can hit next here. Same for this window, we can just say finish. All right, so here we are. Now this may look a little familiar to you from our indicators window, like we see our on and knit function here, but what's different? And here, as I speak, I'm going to clean up this code a little bit. So our onNit function, just like our indicators, will trigger when we add our expert advisor to the chart. There's nothing we're actually going to do for that for this expert advisor, so I'm just going to pack it away a little bit. On dInit, well, this will trigger when we take our expert advisor off of the chart, right? And you might want to add something here if your expert advisor drew something on your chart, like added objects to the chart. Which we're not going to do for our purposes today. So again, I'm just going to pack it away for now. And then we have our OnTick function here. And this is sort of an expert advisor's version of the onCalculate in our custom indicators. And we can check out the documentation here for this. Right? New tick is generated just for the expert advisor only, and this triggers when a new tick comes in, when we get new tick data. It's basically the same as onCalculate for an indicator, except this doesn't trigger on initialization like onCalculate did. And the reason an indicator would want that initial trigger is so it can draw, the indicator plot over every bar already on the chart. An expert advisor isn't really concerned with anything that's happened in the past, right? It's only concerned with what's happening in the future. So this OnTick will only trigger when we have new tick data coming in. So we'll come back to this in a minute. Let's go ahead and get our input parameters for this expert advisor now. So I'll make a section here, inputs. So there's 4 things I want to give the user control over. And it's all going to relate to the actual indicators we're going to use to calculate our strategy here. So I want an input for the Arun up and down length. I want one for the short moving average length, the long moving average length, and then one for the moving average method. So let's add those. Let's say input, this would be an integer, our Arun length, and I'll set that to 7. I'll just copy this to make this easier. I'll do now our short MA length, and I'll just pick 50. Again, arbitrary, what I picked out for our indicators in the previous videos, not changing anything here. I'll also do a long MA length and set that to, let's say, 200. And then finally, we need an enumeration here. So enum MA method, oops. I'll call this the MA method. And we'll set that to an exponential moving average by default. Okay, so that's all we need to do for our input. I'm just going to take a minute and clean this up, and we can move on to our OnTick function. Okay. So we're going to spend the rest of lesson 4 pretty much in the OnTick and also in some other utility functions as well. So let's take a look at OnTick. For our expert advisor today, I don't want to trade unless we are on a new bar. I don't want to be doing anything intra-bar, right? I want to wait for things to shake out before we make any decisions. So I'm going to write us a function that will let us know when a new bar has occurred, right? Because we'll get ticks in the middle of a bar. So I don't want to waste time doing calculations in the middle of a bar if I'm not going to open a trade anyways. So we can write a function called IsNewBar. I'm going to say if it is not a new bar, and we're just going to go ahead and return out of this. I'll also go ahead and put a return at the bottom of this function as well. Okay, so now quick spoiler alert, everything we're about to write for our IsNewBar function, we're going to find out after we've done so is actually unnecessary. We can do the same thing with just one line of code, which I'll show you guys, but I think there's going to be a lot of value in writing this function. That might help us later on, so bear with me here. But I'll put a section in the YouTube if you want. Just skip ahead because we're going to get rid of all this anyways. But okay, so IsNewBar. Let's write our own utility function in MQL4 for this. So we have to declare what sort of type this is going to return. So it's going to be a Boolean. And I'll just copy this for ease. Oops. No parameters here. Okay. So this function should tell us whether or not we are currently on a new bar when a tick comes in, or if it's the first tick of that new bar, right? So in order to do that, I want to take a look at 2 date times. And this is a data type I don't think we've covered yet or worked with yet. So what is a date time in MQL4? In fact, many programming languages. Let's look at the documentation. So a date time is intended for storing the date and time, and it is a number of seconds that have elapsed since January 1st, 1970. So this date, January 1st, 1970, is also known as the Unix epoch. And it was named so by the people who are behind Unix time, which is a standardized measurement of time across many operating systems, software programs. And all it is a number of seconds that have elapsed since this arbitrary date, January 1st, 1970. I think they just figured that would be a good place to start counting. So really, it's just one big integer, right? So we're going to utilize some date times to figure out when a new bar has occurred. So there's two date times I'm interested in, and also a couple different ways we can think about this. But the first date time I want to keep track of is the open of the current bar. So I'm going to call this the current bar time. And I'm going to set that to time of 0. Okay, and what is this time variable, right? Again, we'll hit the documentation. This is a series array that contains the open time of each bar of the current chart, right? So just like other series arrays we've worked with, right? If I do time of 0, that'll give me the open of the current bar. Time of 1 will give me the open of the previous bar, so on and so forth. So I want to know what the open of the current bar that I'm on is. And now that is what I will set to current bar time. Okay, the other date time I want is, and again, this is where we can kind of think about this in multiple ways. I want the open of the previous bar, but I'm going to write it like so. I'm going to say static date time prev bar time equals current bar time. Okay, so what is going on here? Well, first let's cover what is a static variable. Again, not only in MQL4, but many other languages as well. When a variable is static, it will only be initialized once in our program's life cycle. So the first time we call IsNewBar, we're going to set our current bar time to the open of the current bar, and we're going to set previous bar time to that same value, right? The open of the current bar. The next time we call IsNewBar, we're going to redeclare our current bar time to the open of the current bar and skip over this line because prev bar time in our program's lifecycle has already been declared. It's already been initialized. That's what static does. Now we can give prev bar time a new value. We can assign it one explicitly if we want to, but it will not be reinitialized or redeclared. It's technically in a global scope, if you want to think of it that way. So at a certain point, as we keep calling IsNewBar, our current bar time will continuously get a new, or will potentially get a new value, right? Because it's always being redeclared. And at a certain point, our current bar time will no longer equal our previous bar time. That's how we know we've gotten a new bar. So let's check to see if our previous bar time is less than our current bar time. There it is. And if that's the case, we can go ahead and return true here because we know that we are now on a new bar. These two values are no longer the same, which means current bar time must be on a different bar than the previous bar time. Of course, we also want to reset this comparison for the next bar. So on top of returning true, we want to set previous bar time back to current bar time. And again, we can always assign a static variable a new value. It just won't reinitialize itself. Of course, let's return false if this isn't the case. False like that. And go ahead and compile here. And fantastic. 0 errors, 0 warnings. Now, this is a good time to check to see if our code is actually working. So in my OnTick function, I'm going to go ahead and write a print statement here. Now, this print statement should only be hit if we are on a new bar, right? If my IsNewBar function is working. So I'll say print, hey, it's a new bar. Like that. And compile again here. And fantastic, 0 errors, 0 warnings. Now we can head over to our chart and see if this actually prints out. So I'll jump over here. I'm on the EURUSD 1 minute. Let me go ahead and add my expert advisor to the chart. So I'll come under Taproot EAs. Just give this a double click. and we'll just hit on OK. All right, so now we should see ticks coming in, right? We have a lot of tick data happening right now, but we shouldn't see our message, oh, right there. We shouldn't see our message, hey, it's a new bar, until we have actually gone on to a new bar, right? So no matter how many ticks are coming in, we should only see this message at the very beginning of our new bar. So fantastic, we already saw that this is working perfectly. Okay, so we can come back to our code now. As I said earlier, this function is actually a bit superfluous, so there's a much easier way we can check this. But I did want to cover what a date time was, and especially what a static variable was. So let's go ahead and comment this out for now, since I hate deleting code, and until I'm sure I'm done with it, I'll just use control apostrophe to comment. And then I can replace this IsNewBar with simply if my volume of 0 is greater than 1. Okay, and again, I don't need any utility function. This volume of 0 greater than 1 will tell me the same thing. So what is the volume? Again, let's hop over to the documentation. So volume, it's not your traditional sense of volume, like how many assets have been traded on this bar in this given time frame. Volume is a series array that contains the tick volumes of each bar on the current chart. So I know that if I have more than one tick on my current bar, it's no longer a new bar anymore, right? It was a new bar when it had one tick. If it has anything more than that, it's no longer a new bar. And now it's worth noting that every bar on the chart will have a different tick volume. And again, that just depends on how many trades occurred on that bar. And it's quite possible that any given bar might only ever have one tick. So for the entirety of the bar, this condition might always be false, right? It might never be greater than 1. But we're only going to check this condition on a new tick coming in. So even if we only had one tick on our bar, and it's like this never got us out of the OnTick function, that doesn't matter because we never got to the OnTick function in the first place. So we'll still not be making any unnecessary calculations. Okay, so again, we can compile and we can, oh, okay. I forgot to comment out this part. That's okay, because I'm going to delete this anyways. I should have deleted it in the first place. Let's compile again. All right, 0 errors, 0 warnings, fantastic. And let's see if this still is working now, if we're still getting that print statement when we need to. So we've still got our expert advisor on the chart. And let's see, we're getting ticks, but no message. That's a good thing. Let's see when we hit a new bar here. And there we go. Fantastic. Hey, it's a new bar. So this method with the volume is still, in fact, working. And again, way less code than writing a whole function is a new bar. But I thought that would be useful for us to go over. All right, let's come back here. Let's get rid of this print statement. So now that we know we're at the beginning of a new bar, let's make some calculations that we'll use later to determine whether or not we want to open a trade. So let's build our long condition here. We're just going to bother going long for this expert advisor. We're not going to go short, just to keep things a little bit more simple. So for our long condition, we want to see if our short moving average is greater than our long moving average, and if our Arun upline is greater than our Arun downline, just like we did in that custom indicator in the previous video. So let's go ahead and get those values so we can compare them and build our long condition. Let's say double short MA. And I'm going to use the iCustom function to grab this value from an indicator that I've already written, that we wrote in the previous video. Say iCustom, and I'll be on the current symbol in the current time frame. Period. Okay, and now which indicator do I want to grab from? We're no longer in the subfolder that this indicator is in, like we were in the past. What the iCustom function does for us is it, by default, puts us in the indicators folder. So all we have to do is indicate what subfolder of indicators we're in, which will be Taproot tutorials. Let's put that here. Tutorials. And now I can give the name of the indicator I want to access, which would be my MA crossover. Okay, I didn't mention this in the last video, but we don't need to put the .mq4 here, even though that's technically part of the path name. The iCustom function will add that automatically for us, or just figure it out. Okay, so now we know which indicator we're grabbing. Now we can give this indicator parameters. And I don't just want to settle with the defaults. I let the user of this expert advisor indicate what they want their moving averages to be. So let's add that here. So we can remind ourselves what those parameters are by going to our moving average crossover indicator. And we put in the short length, then the long length, then the moving average method. So let's add that. We'll do the, I'll make sure my face isn't in the way here. We'll do the short length, the long length, and the method. Okay, now we have to tell iCustom which buffer we want to grab a value from, and that's going to be our 0th, our first buffer here. And then also which bar we want to grab this from. So no shift here, we're just going to stick with 0. Okay, fantastic. So let's do the same thing for our long MA. And the only thing we need to change about this is going to be which buffer we're grabbing this value from. So instead of 0, this will be 1 now. All right, so now we can do the Arun up. We'll, of course, have to change the path name. Right, we're no longer in our MA crossover. I'm just going to do the first Arun up and down indicator we built, not the one with the moving average crossover. It's for no particular reason, just less to type. I'll do the Arun up and down. And I don't need all these input parameters anymore. I just need my Arun length. And then I can check to see which buffer I need in my Arun up and down indicator. My Arun up was the 0, the first buffer here. Oops, getting lost here. Okay, so that code is fine, but we'll do the same thing for my Arun down line as well. And of course, just change the buffer. Okay, perfect. So now we have all the values we need to calculate our long condition. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say this will be a Boolean long condition. And that's going to equal if my short MA is greater than my long MA, and if my Arun up is greater than my Arun down. And we can make sure that everything is working properly by adding another print function. We'll say, hey, it's the long condition. And of course, we'll only do that if it is, in fact, the long condition. Okay, so let's compile here, make sure everything's all right. Fantastic, 0 errors, 0 warnings. And we can come back to the chart here. And let's go ahead and add that indicator to our chart. Okay, sorry, computer had a little bit of a hiccup there. That's okay, I changed things around anyways. So I moved this over to a more lively chart at the moment, USD CAD. And we want to see if our long condition will actually print in our little log down here. So let's go ahead and add our expert advisor back to the chart. So to the Arun MA cross and hit OK. Okay, and it looks like, let's see if we can go ahead and we're pretty close to our long condition territory. So I have a few things I want to talk about in the meantime, and I'm hoping that we jump in there while I'm talking and we can see it happen. But if not, try this at home, take my word for it, that's going to work. One thing I do want to talk about though. So this is all we're going to code for our lesson 4.1. On the next lesson, now that we have our long condition, we'll actually get into how to open a trade. And we'll be spending quite a lot of time on our order send function. We'll calculate stop loss and take profit and how much we're going to buy, all this good stuff. So I broke it up into two because we're going to spend a lot of time on that. We're also going to back test our strategy to see just how profitable it is, and look at a few other things as well. But if you want to, instead of back testing, forward test your strategy, there's a couple things I want to make sure we cover so we know how to do that. So I've added my expert advisor to the chart. And we can see its name up here, Arun M.A. Cross. And next to its name, you might also notice this little frowny face. If you have a frowny face next to your expert advisor on your chart, that means it is not going to be trading in real time because live trading is off. That is what that frowny face means. It's not happy. Your expert advisor can't do the job it wants to do, so it's upset. In order to turn that frown into a smile and get our expert advisor able to trade in real time, there's a couple things we have to do. We have to first turn on auto trading, right? This button up here. And again, it's the logo. It's like a little blue hat on top of a golden square. Kind of matches this logo a little bit for the expert advisors. I guess it's our advisor has the hat on, something like that. Let's go ahead and turn that on. So we've enabled auto trading, right? Automated trading enabled. We still have a frowny face next to our expert advisor. So we also have to go into the settings for our expert advisor, our properties, and allow live trading in the expert advisor as well. This is another setting here. So once we hit OK there, we'll notice that frowny face turned into a smiley face. So again, both of those options must be enabled, right? If I turn off this button, it's going to be a frowny face again. So there's MetaTrader 4 puts in quite a few safety guards, you can almost say, to make sure that we're not trading when we don't need to be. Of course, on a demo account, it doesn't make a huge difference anyways. But just so you're aware, if you do want to turn on auto trading, you have to both hit this button and then also, actually, we can right click anywhere on the chart. And in the properties, make sure we allow live trading. And you really want to see that smiley face. Also, if you want to remove your expert advisor from the chart, again, you can right click anywhere and I'll just hit on remove and that'll get rid of it. Of course, we can add it back because I do want to see if we get our long condition here. We're so close. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for the lesson today. Again, tomorrow we'll actually see how to open a trade. We'll deal with risk management quite a lot and see if this strategy that we've come up with is actually profitable, which it will technically be in some cases, not in most cases. And again, caveat, not really profitable in any case. We'll see. So once again, I'll say this 1,000 times, but don't actually trade with this strategy. It is for educational purposes only. And gosh, if we wait one more minute here, I want to see this happen. I think I'm just going to fast forward through this part now. We're so close. I mean, trust me, it works. But I want you to see it work. Oh, it's not looking good. All right, so we're going to need to get some new highs here to bring our Arun upline up a little bit. Is it going to happen? Okay, if not, I will say thank you for checking out the lesson today, and I will see you guys in the next one. So close. Yes. Okay. Hey, it's the long condition. So our expert advisor does in fact work. It knows when it's gotten into the long condition. Our code is fantastic. I'm so glad that happened. Thanks for sticking around with me and watching that. I will cut a lot of that waiting time out. I almost promise. Thanks as always for watching this video. If you found this content valuable, please let me know by liking or subscribing to my channel. If you have any questions or comments about the material we covered today, feel free to drop a comment down below. And of course, please check out some of my other videos for more useful information. All right, I'll leave y'all to it.